The net type is hidden and won't work properly if used by a non-advanced user. Non-advanced user.
Multi-platform. Very, very welcome.
Springer stands at second with no outs.
Yeah. You go there. You go here. There's a non-advanced user. It's a non-advanced user.
Honey, hey!
Huh? Whoa, what is it?
Why are you talking like a Resident Evil character? Don't you have a Sunken Tram how-to guide to film?
Huh. You're right. I gotta go. What a nightmare.
Oh gosh. Oh hey everybody, This Old Gamer here, and I'm thrilled to have you along for the ride today as we are all set for a new episode featuring a sunken tram. I've made a video before that had a sunken train station in it, so this is something a little bit new. I was really tired. I really enjoyed making this episode. I'm excited to show you today, and yeah, stick around, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm not gonna do it again. Sorry. Well, hello once again. I am so glad to have you today. This is another how-to video. I'm kind of alternating these with my regular episodes. My last one was a multi-platform bridge that you see here. And it was a successful show. I really enjoyed doing it, so I hope you enjoy this one as well. Alright guys, so I picked this area of land over here next to the train station for this sunken tram line. And I went ahead and took the liberty of building a tunnel underneath the canal, the main center canal, and bringing it over here. And the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to sink this ground in using terraforming. And something that'll make your life a lot easier, make sure you have a network on both sides of where you're going to sink the ground. So the railroad line there and this road kind of serve as borders for this. And it makes it a lot easier. As you can see there, I have a really smooth line all the way across. And then we just connected that and just brought it all the way over to another sunken area to create the tunnel. So with that, you just basically do the usual networking into a tunnel. It'll make it a lot easier if you use some form of road anarchy. But we are setting it up for a nice middle station. And this is an asset that is by Cluss. Cluss makes a ton of LRT tram stuff and has some incredible collections on the workshop. So I highly suggest using basically anything that he offers, but just subscribe to his collections and give him a big thumbs up rating on there, because he makes some fantastic assets and networks and props and everything that has to do with trams. So if you're really going to get into making some major league tram portions of your map, I highly suggest looking him up. Cluss, C-L-U-S. And this is a Cluss track here, so it has a little middle portion there that is actually nodeless. So as you can see through that, and that is because it allows you to create something on top of it or through it. In this case, I'm just putting a platform here. We're using the concrete pedestrian pathway by Ninu. I'm sure I said that wrong. And the reason I used that versus just a prop platform for the middle part was we want people to freely walk on that part. And even though we can put invisible sidewalks on there, which we'll still use on the sides of the platform, it's just easier to use something that is actually built for people to be walking on. So here we're just doing some procedure objects, and what these are going to serve the purpose of is so people can walk across that safely, walk across the rail, and it kind of serves as a bumper, I guess you could say, for the actual tram. So when the tram pulls in, it's going to be pulling in right there at the edge of that. So it should be a good visual aid to where the tram will actually stop. Now these are a little more of a decoration than anything. They're not really functional, and because we're going to have invisible pathways leading down to this, and the middle part of it alone is actually a sidewalk, people are going to be walking each and every direction. They're not necessarily going to take those concrete bumps, but that's what they're there for people to safely walk across this track and not get ran over or trip over the railing or whatever the case may be. So now we're just going to go through and we're going to build this concrete wall. We're going to quickly just throw this together. We're going to put it on both sides, and then we're going to kind of just sink in the ends of it and move it in as tightly as we can to the platform. Maybe give it a little bit of room, but have it nice and tight. Now comes the dreaded stairs. Oh no! We are going to use procedure objects on these stairs. That will allow us to widen these stairs out and get them to fit just a tad bit better and kind of snug in between the tunnel and the side of the wall there of the retaining wall, and that will work just fine. And we'll kind of fill this gap with a curb that will actually use procedure objects and drop this curb down where it kind of fills that gap up. We'll just click all those little portions of that and just sink it into the ground, and now that has a little bit of height to it, and that kind of takes that little corner out that we don't want to be showing. Just a few adjustments, and we'll do the same thing to the other side. Now this is something I decided to do, and what these are going to serve as is just giant curbs that are more or less going to be like big steps. So we're going to put them in just kind of one after the other, and they'll kind of cover up some of the terrain there that is not cooperating because of the multiple networks and layers running through this. One thing that you'll discover when you're doing something like this is, since you have so many networks close by, it is very tricky to get them all to cooperate with you. So what I would suggest doing is use props and things to your advantage. You don't necessarily have to use procedure objects every step of the way. I am really enjoying using procedure objects and starting to get the hang of it. It's really a lot of fun to use, and it will help you cover up those areas that are just not cooperating, and it's a quick fix. That's not that quick. Alright, so moving right along, we have added some invisible pathways down to the staircases that we built, and now we are going to go ahead and add some decals. I've already finished the decals down to the staircases, but now we're going to add some decals to connect this tram station to the train depot. That is the overall point of having it over on this side of the map, is we want a smooth transition so people getting off the train can get onto the tram and get back home where they want to be or wherever they want to go. So that is what we're working on next. So we're just going to bring these tiles. We will use the prop line tool. We're actually just going to bring this same decal over just like that, and then we'll run it across. And then we'll actually just bring this one, just find the perfect little spot there. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. Just like that. And just because the tiles are uneven, I actually kind of like that, how they're not all lining up, just to give it a little bit of a different look. Alright, so we got our tiles connected over to the sidewalk, and now we're going to throw in a big iron fence here. It's a pretty good size iron fence. I believe this came with the industrial DLC, but that's a nice looking iron fence. And then we're going to put it in the middle here and just kind of cover up this middle ground underneath this pillar here. Alright, so we got that set up. We've got a sidewalk kind of running from this particular platform We'll just kind of throw in a couple tiles to cover up that weird thing there. All right, there you have it. So here is where we're going to bring the train out at the other end of this tunnel. This is a nice area to do it because this is a somewhat overgrown, older buildings that we need to get rid of anyway. So we're just going to bring this right over here and connect it. It was just like it was meant to be. It was like I saved this corner on purpose, but I didn't do it on purpose. I can't take any credit for that. We'll get rid of this one building and we're just going to scoot this over just a tad like so. And then we can come back and really tweak this. I'm sure underneath the ground it looks really great. Just kind of smooth a little bit of this off here. Just take this big patch of grass and copy it. That works. Good enough for now. All right. Meanwhile, at the ranch. So let's put in some more tiles down here. We're going to use these tiles that kind of have this stone look to them, just for a couple of spots. So we'll kind of move these in, and then we'll just put in concrete. Now you might have noticed I'm not using surface painter here. I'm actually using the concrete surface decals that are actually considered buildings, but they work better in this circumstance. If I was using the surface painter, it would go all over the track. It would actually go out into the tram track, and we don't want that, so I'm just going to use the concrete surface building here. But I think that's a good transition between the concrete and this stone decal here. All right, so we're going to add a few more little curves. We're just going to kind of continue this since we have this little spot where the terrain is kind of sticking up. We're just going to cover it up with this curve and use our procedure objects to kind of stretch this out. Super simple to use procedure objects. It is not as intimidating as it seems. We'll do the same thing to this other side. For some reason the grass kind of pops up when you're using procedure objects on these curbs, but that's an easy fix. And then let's just put this circle curb right here to kind of fill up the rest of that gap. We'll just kind of bring it up just barely up like so. Yeah, but right there, look good. It's a little tricky, a little time consuming at times. I'm probably not even gonna fool with this. We'll just cover it up with a bush. Cover it up with a bush. That is detailing 101. Cover it up with a bush. Works every time. Speaking of bushes, we'll make a line of bushes in behind these little platforms. The actual platform is the middle, okay? So we already got trams coming through here. The actual platform is the middle. It's not really those sides. We can use the people generator to get some people to stand there, but the people generator circle is it's large. I would think it's about eight spots wide, I guess you would say, in diameter. So we might get people standing on the track if we use it, but we'll probably throw it in there anyway just to generate some people down here. So just some little preliminary sprucing. Now we're going to add in these posts. I'm not going to put a fence down here. I'm just going to have these posts as kind of a safety barrier. I mean, my thing is the trams are going to be coming in and out of here at this particular junction, and they come out of that tunnel. They're not going very fast, and if you're dumb enough to get out on the track, then you know it is what it is, what happens to you. So I know that's a poor attitude to have. I mean, really, if you jump out on the train tracks, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to feel sorry for you or something? These are also a Klus design. These station kind of like little miniature depots you can throw anywhere. the glass is unattached. You actually have to put the glass in for them, so that's kind of fun. All right, so now we're going to build this little flower bed here. This is pretty cool. Using prop line tool and the actual circle, we can just make little circles of bushes one after another. It's super easy to use and makes this a lot easier to make. It looks great. Now we're just going to kind of come along the side, put in a little bit more vegetation. Just remember, the more vegetation you add, yes, it goes to your tree count, but you really need it. It really is what can make the difference between something that looks very bland and something that looks very alive, vibrant, and I love doing different types of flowers and trees and coming up with cool little designs. We're using these juniper trees, which are just fantastic. And we just kind of line them up along the edges, the same ones that we used on the curbs, on the staircase curbs there. We're just using here as well along the side of this sidewalk and path. We're going to bring these a little bit closer to the sidewalk. All right, now we need some places for people to sit. We're just going to throw these in, do the same on both sides. And then we need a platform rooftop. Ooh, a guy almost got hit. Rooftop here in the middle. And just going to do the same thing. We'll pull this glass all the way down. Like so. This glass is a little bit tricky. I'm not sure why. I'm sure there's a good reason why this glass is not just part of the building, but it's no big deal. We'll just kind of have a little bush here, use some daffodils around that, do the same thing to the other side. We might come back and add some curbs underneath that because I think those are not exactly on the ground, they're somewhat floating. Here's a little safety fence toward the end. We don't want people walking down this way. Once you get past the platform, there's nothing for people to do here. We don't want them walking that way. Alright, so there you have it. But we need to add a little bit more. There's a few things missing. I'd like to add a little bit more here. Let's add in a billboard. I'm going to use procedure objects to kind of raise this up just a tad so the height is seen by the train track and the road. And then let's just come in here and let's just throw in some big advertisement boards. Got PlayStation, got blue jeans, really everything you need in life. An Android phone, shoes, Heineken, a PlayStation, a woman laying on your back. Maybe not Bex. So, 5 out of 6 things are really what you need in life. But I guess I could do without Bex. Just gonna bring these in. We'll throw in some bushes here at the bottom. Those are LED signs that you can actually go into the editor on the game and you can add your own sayings and stuff to them, but I'm not going to mess with that right now. So what I decided to do on this end, this is the east end tunnel, and what I decided to do here is I'm going to add like a little electric substation and actually going to put in a little road to it with a building, kind of like acting as an electrical building that is specifically for powering this tram. The tram location for the actual tram depot is very far away from this area of the map. So kind of the idea here is maybe just a place to have a little extra electricity. After all, that's what the tram runs on. And this will kind of serve as a spot to have a little bit of extra electricity. But having this long of a dugout canal and not having anything down here at all toward the end, I don't think that would look right. So, yeah, I'm just going with this idea that I have. So we're going to add in this little road, nice little road with some mud puddles, nothing major. We have a building here that is just a generic industrial building. We're going to attempt to make that look like an electrical company building. We add in these big fuse boxes underneath just for a little added detail. Here we go. Spark electricity. Spasm electricity. Even better. Yes, danger, high voltage. Do not come near this fence. You will be electrocuted. Okie dokie. So some final touches here. We have some tram crossing and tram lights to tell the trams to go forward or brake or stop, and also has a warning there that you're going to get ran over if you go a certain direction. Here's a really cool tram light we're going to stick underneath there. You know, keep in mind something that whenever you're doing your detailing, a lot of people, they might not have after dark DLC. I guess that's one thing. But if you don't look at your city at night and you don't look at what it's going to look like at night periodically, you might find yourself having to backtrack on some things. Lights can make a big difference, but also lights can be a very cool prop to use. So, you know, they can make a big difference in how an area looks. This is not a place I would recommend doing yoga, but if you want to bow to your master tram, that's fine by me as well. Alright, so we're going to make a little ticket station here, right here at the corner of the train station and the tram depot. Just going to add in these little ticket selling machines. I don't know if that's really what those are, but that's what we're going to say they are. So those are where you can get your tickets for the tram or maybe even the train. Let's see, I don't have a sign. We're going to make a sign. Magic of a cheap video editor. We are done with the sign already. This is procedure objects again, just using a blank sign to make this tram and train sign. It's definitely not anything fancy. Of course, you can always go into Paint 3D or numerous programs to make a PNG file to upload to these signs and make it however you want, as fancy as you want, but I'm just going to go something simple like that. There we go. Very good. Alright, so speaking of lights, we're going to add in these real fancy light poles right here at the entrance. And again, as I was saying earlier, your lights obviously are going to make a big difference if they're yellow versus white lights versus clear lights or whatever the case may be. But keep in mind, during the daytime, people see those lights and they really add a lot. They're just, I guess what I'm trying to say is they're a prop first before they're a light, if that makes sense. So they're going to be a decoration for you. So use them wisely, and you know, just don't throw them up all willy-nilly, but do use them. And like I said, if you're using like ultimate eye candy, every once in a while, it's a good idea just to turn off the lights, so to speak, make it nighttime and take a look at your city and stuff. There's been numerous times where I've put buildings down, and when it was nighttime, I took a look at the building and oh my gosh, did it look terrible. Like the lights looked horrible. I ended up having to not use the building at all. So that's just a tip. That's kind of a sidebar tip in a way, but definitely check out your nighttime looks. And use ultimate eye candy or whatever the case may be to make sure everything looks squared away. Put this little newspaper stand here. People have some newspapers to buy as they enter this platform. Already being heavily used. It didn't take long at all, did it? All right. Yeah, so far so good. I think I'm going to add in a few little decals here just to kind of change up the mundaneness of this, and I'll just kind of put that right there. This is a bit of a lower area of the sunken area, but a very simple build, guys. Nothing that is not, it's not too difficult. I think the main thing is to make sure that you have those when you start doing your terraforming. Throw a rail down, throw a road down, even if you're not going to use it, just to serve as a border. That makes it so much easier. It won't go past that border, and it makes it nice and crisp Move that billboard down and kind of connect all that. And I think that is about it. Not much more I'm going to add to it. I think that's a wrap. Yeah, really like how this turned out. Well, that about does it for this episode of Cities with John. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed building it. The Sunken Tram is complete and people are already using it left and right. If you feel compelled, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel for some more ridiculous content and hopefully less naps in the future. Thanks again for watching, guys, and we will see you next time. I'm This Old Gamer. Bye-bye.